This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
First of all, we're going to go to the big land where we have the mayor of Labrador City, Jordan Brown. Jordan Brown, you are in an area that I believe there are currently more than 20 wildfires burning throughout Labrador and in the area into Quebec. Just tell me, what's the current situation up there? Have you been able to get any progress in knocking down some of those fires?
Thankfully, yesterday we got rain. Now, it wasn't what it was originally forecasted, but we did get rain, so that was helpful. So helicopters and ground crews were able to get in and start combing through it, doing hot spots, and trying to get an initial assessment on what the situation is with the fire. So they were able to make progress with that. We were expected to get rain today, but it's going to be more of showers. So I expect the same with helicopter and ground crews. But after the morning, then there's no rain forecasted until tomorrow. So the situation is still we still have an active fire, and we still have a evacuation, and we're still in a state of emergency as of now.
Have there been any expansions to the the evacuation alert area in that region?
No, we're still as of right now, we're in the same situation where there's no expectation as of now. But as this is a wildfire, things can change. People need to be prepared. So even though it's cool, it's cloudy, there's no visible smoke from that area as of right now, that doesn't mean it's not an active wildfire. It is an active wildfire. People need to be paying attention.
Yeah. What's the air quality like now, Jordan?
Thankfully, because of the way the wind and the showers and stuff right now, it's pretty good. But we also have to remember that there's still some massive fires on the Quebec side as well, and the wind is coming down from that area, so we could get smoke from other wildfires as well. And we've been told to expect a smoky summer here with all the wildfires in Quebec.
Yeah, that's terrible to hear. Look, I know when you put evacuation alerts in, and people are asked to be ready to go at a moment's notice, and then a few days passes and nothing much changes. Are you worried about complacency that people will go off of a high alert and not be ready in case something can change? Because with a wildfire, things can change pretty quickly.
Absolutely, and that's why I try to keep reiterating, keep an eye on official pages on Facebook, keep listening to local radio, things like that, so people can hear what's going on, and get reminded that, there is, a sense of, importance on being alert for, if anything can change at a moment's notice. Complacency is always a problem when you're dealing with emergency situations. We want to try to remind people as much as possible to resist that urge of complacency and just, be alert, be ready, and this is something that, that people need to be aware of, that during the summer months, wildfires are a more common occurrence than ever before.
Yeah, and we just finally heard yesterday that there is a fire ban for Labrador. Does that give you comfort? Is that something that was much needed? Essentially, Labrador West has been in very high or extreme since the beginning of summer. So we've essentially had a fire ban here since the very beginning of summer. But it's just good to know that the other regions of Labrador that have wildfires now, and places that don't, but we don't want them to do something about it. So we want to make sure that all of Labrador has this. We want to make sure that assets are available. Carelessness is not being a thing in the rest of the place. So because we need to be ready, because it's just dry. It's hot. It's a very warm and dry summer. It's very smoky. It's very that we don't want people to go out and shoot off fireworks unnecessarily. We don't want people to, have an accident and knock over something that starts a fire. We want to make sure that we have everything available, that we can fight the fires that we are dealing with right now and then move on. Yeah, and Jordan, just lay it out for us for the fire ban for your area. What does it mean for people? We hear okay, in some places you can use a propane barbecue or a grill, that sort of thing. Can you have an open fire in your backyard, campfire, those sorts of things that are permitted still in some areas of the province? No, so like right now, no fireworks, no sky lanterns, no backyard fire pits. If you're ATVing, make sure that, like I said, you have your muffler and spark arresters on your ATV. Make sure you're carrying some sort of fire extinguisher with you in your ATV. That's the law. Don't be careless. If you're out in the woods and stuff, maybe today you don't need to start a little fire or anything on your hike because you're not allowed. Just be mindful that it's not only you that you're interrupting when you're having these things and potentially starting a wildfire. You can impact a whole community. You can put a lot of people's lives in danger very quickly, especially in a dry forested area, because they travel fast, and if there's any wind, they travel even faster. So people need to be aware that their actions potentially have massive consequences for their community.
Last year, from personal experience, our community had a bit of pushback on that, and then our fire department was still responding to backyard fires and so forth. Are you getting much of a pushback? Are you seeing people that are actually violating this ban?
I've heard in some cases, some people shot fireworks for someone's birthday, and yesterday was Canada Day. But for the most part, I haven't seen that. I'll give my community credit where credit is due. They've been very compliant. They've been very understanding and compassionate about the situation. I have to say that it's very good that people are paying attention. They're doing what they're asked to do, and they're being very patient with the situation. So I'll give my community in that credit, because they have been very understanding of what a wildfire means and what the consequences of not following the prescribed regulation and what there is asked of them of the emergency personnel, because a situation could easily get out of hand if they don't.
That's good to hear. And just finally, are there water bombers going up today?
As of right now, we're waiting for our update from forestry. They've gathered this morning. I think some crews have already gone up to get on the ground and look around, and then I guess they will have their plan in place once they have a look at how everything went overnight.
Okay. Jordan Brown, Mayor of Labrador City, thank you very much for this update on the wildfire situation that is near York community. All the best to you and everyone up there.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time for me this morning. Take care, my friend.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
We're going to go on to line 3 now, where we have St. John City Councillor, Ward 3, Greg Noseworthy on the line. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Darren. How are you today?
Not bad, sir. Not bad. What is on your mind this morning?
Well, I want to let everybody know we've got the Mundy Pond Regatta going ahead this Saturday. Things are going to kick off around 11 a.m. and go into the afternoon until about 4 o'clock or so. It's going to be a great opportunity for families to get out, meet up with some friends, walk the pond, see the races. It's going to be a great time, and I know the Regatta Committee has been putting a lot of hard work into everything. We had practice runs there last night. It's going to be a great time, and we want to see as many people in the community come out as possible.
What is just give us a little background, what is the history of this Mundy Pond Regatta? Because we're all familiar with the down at the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming up to 100 years since the initial one started. So 1930 through 1949 is when the original rendition of the Mundy Pond Regatta happened. And it's something that the community members began to put off themselves in around Mundy Pond area. And, of course, as I mentioned, 1949, it unfortunately came to an end. However, it was resurrected back in 2017 and has been going strong ever since.
Give people a sense of what they'll see and what they'll encounter when they go down to have a look at what's going on.
Well, if you want to see a councillor try and paddle his way across Mundy Pond, you're in for a treat. I'll be down there with a friend of mine. We're going to give it a go in the boat. It's not your traditional style like you see at the Royal St. John's Regatta. It is more in a dory boat style. So we've got two rowers per rower. That's a tongue twister there. And we've got men, we've got women, we've got co-ed. It's a great time. Like I said, it's such a good opportunity to get out and connect with community members. They're going to have lots of things there, just like the Royal St. John's Regatta, lots of booths and all that good stuff.
It sounds like an amazing community event for especially that area of the city and for anybody that wants to visit. I remember, Greg, and all the best of luck in your efforts, because I can tell you I did the one down at Kitty Vitty as a little practice thing a number of years ago, 30 years ago probably. My arms, I think, are still shaking from that. So that was a hard pull on the oar, as it were, right, for someone who doesn't do it at all. So are there any other counselors involved in this, or anyone else of note, or is it just people, enthusiasts, people that got the smaller boats that just want to give it a go?
I think I might be the only counselor on the water, but of course my colleagues are going to be down supporting, which is great to see. So, another good opportunity too. If, you wanted to run into somebody, just ask a quick question or have a chat, see what's going on. It's going to be a good time to see different community leaders out and about too.
Yeah, and it's it's that time of year with festivals and community events and so forth. I know around St. John's there'll be all kinds of things happening this summer, and we're only a month away from the big regatta as well. So it's an exciting time of year, isn't it, to get people out and get that true sense of community going. Where, as they always say, I haven't seen you since last regatta.
Yeah, absolutely. And the really nice thing too now, the event is growing. We've got rowers who are rowing in the Royal St. John's Regatta are coming out, which is great. Buddy Mon I'm going to be rowing with, he is also rowing in the regatta for the first time this year. So it's going to be a good practice run for him. And, the next generation's getting involved too. There's a number of teams of 15-year-olds who are getting into it, which is fantastic, and just speaks volumes to how important it is for the community and the longevity that this is going to have for Mundy Pond, for St. John's as a whole.
Yeah, and Greg, just given Mundy Pond is a fairly large pond, and of course you can drive all around it just about. But for people going down to have a look and so forth, is there any advice for them for traffic and driving and parking and so forth?
It should be pretty good. It's more, what I would say, more accessible because it is a smaller regatta, so you will be able to drive in closer. Of course, we got bus routes nearby as well. So just come early. There's going to be parking spots at the gravel lot across where the old Mews is, St. Teresa's. There's tons of parking all around, and you will not have to walk more than 5 minutes or so, and you'll be right in the heart of it all.
Okay, so we're looking at a great day for Saturday. Maybe a bit of sun and cloud, but 26 degrees with a humidex probably higher than that. So it's going to be a fun day on the water. Sunscreen, of course, but a great day for the Mundy Pond Regatta.
You got it, sir. It's going to be a great time, and I hope to see Darren. I hope to see you too. Everybody's welcome. It's going to be a great time.
Well, you might have heard I got a soiree on the go out in Kelligrews, so I might not make it.
But you might not. But hey, listen, the invite's always there.
But I tell you what, before you go on your regatta, if you want to come out to the pancake breakfast we're serving up, you're more than welcome.
Hey, there we go.
All right. Greg, thanks for dropping in this morning for a chat, and appreciate that, and all the best to you, and have a great time. Stay safe the weekend. All the best to those in the Mundy Pond Regatta.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Okay, let's go to line one where I have Edgar. Edgar, good morning. Welcome to Open Line.
Oh, good morning, sir.
How are you doing this morning?
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear.
Yes, I'm just calling in. I'm on my break from work, but I went down to the Canada Day Memorial at our National War Memorial, and they've done a fantastic job. I may get a bit emotional, but I've reached out for years now to the mayor and the deputy mayor, and then to Tom Osborne about the property adjoining the War Memorial. This is so sacred to us, and our War Memorial deserves better. The adjoining properties, and 100 Water Street, which. I'm a fire alarm inspector. I've been in this industry now for over 40 years, and I've been in pretty well every building in this province in Newfoundland and Labrador. And it's very upsetting to me to see the condition that this building has been allowed to degrade to the point that it will be torn down. When I was there yesterday, The pigeons are so the brick wall separating that property from the law firm that was adjoining it has collapsed. The pigeons are flying in and out. So obviously, I guarantee you, it's to the point of no return. That's what they're going to say. That it's in whatever. It's got like so many other heritage properties around the city. These developers, they purchase these properties, and then what it is, they turn the power off, they turn off the fire alarm system, they turn off the security system, and they let it run to the ground. It's destruction through
basically attrition and
exactly.
desertion, I suppose.
You know where I'm going with this, yeah. And that I used to service the fire alarm, and actually in both properties, the one that burned down and the one that's still standing. And, the previous owner, before he sold it to the owner that then sold it to the provincial government, it was in pristine. And it was a classic example of Newfoundland, of St. John's. He kept it in pretty well pristine condition. He maintained the fire alarm system, the security system. Everything was up to code. And then when the law firm burned down, he moved out because he said, this will go on for decades. The fight between, it's a heritage property, and the new owner, what they wanted to put there, the city would never agree with. So anyway,
it is designated a heritage property, is it? I'm not.
And it is.
Yeah,
and
okay,
it is.
And that puts restrictions on what you can do, of course.
Exactly. So what the developers do is, because they have very deep pockets, much more than me and you, and I've been at this I've been at this for over 40 years, and there was one developer that, and I'm going to go back 20 some odd years ago, about a different property that, and I spoke to him and I said, but because I knew him personally, and I said, you own this particular property, and I said, it's just sitting there, and I said, what are you going to do with it? And he goes, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And I said, oh, well, okay. So but it's like, it's a boarded up. And he said, well, I'll just leave it to the kids. But, that property, and again, look at, if you if you live next door to, this is part of the community.
It has to be code issues. If something falls into disrepair, there are codes that and bylaws and so forth that cities or municipalities would have that they would deal with the owner regarding. But one of the things I suppose, and it goes to your point, is if the taxes are up to date and it's not being breached. Is there much a municipality can do, if somebody owns something privately?
Personally, God bless you. Personally, this comes directly from the mayor. His hands are tied. Basically, as long as the property is secured, as long as it's boarded up, then the city of St. John's has very limited powers when it comes to these properties, because it sticks a needle into me because I grew up in the downtown. I went to St. Thomas Elementary, and as a kid, me and my mom, I remember Water Street before the Avalon Mall was built, or the Village Mall, and how vibrant, and it is like, and I work with property owners. And the money that they invest and to try to, reinvigorate the downtown. And, but when you have these vacant properties sitting around that, and it attracts the vandalism. It attracts, the negative. It's not good for business. And it's just like, and so now we have 100 Water Street, which is owned by the provincial government. The back of the building is fully open. The brick wall has collapsed. The pigeons are flying in and out of it. It's been vandalized, and but it's an important part of our heritage. That the Steele family, both of their sons, served in the First World War. And, it's such an important part. And the thing is once it's gone, the way that, like, I've been to, I feel at times that the higher leaders that like, I've been to Spain, and, I've seen Rome, I've been through the Roman Colosseums, and I've seen their history, which is much older than ours. But my history, our history, is just as important to me as it is to them. Our indigenous history, the way that our ancestors built things, and their story is important.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer would be in that, but, you're saying the property now, 100 Water Street, is owned by the provinces. Is that what you're suggesting? I'm not.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they would be the ones to answer to that and to see, what the intentions are, if there are any intentions. But if the system is set up so that if you buy a heritage property, just hold on to it till it falls down, and then you don't have to worry about the heritage rules anymore, then that's not a good system, and needs a review for sure. But look, Edgar, thank you for giving us a call this morning. I'm past the break there now, like I always am. It's a good point, and yes, an incredible ceremony yesterday. And if the province owns it, then they should have a good look at that property next door to the National.
And I just want, before I leave, I want to shout out to Shani Duff, because I understand what she was fighting for, and God bless her.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Right now I'm going to go to line 2, where I have Emma Craig. She is the regional librarian for St. John's for NL Public Libraries. Emma, welcome to Open Line.
Thanks for having me on this morning, Darren.
Okay, so there's some changes that people should know about with regards to operations and some of the online availability. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah, so we just made our announcement today, and to let your listeners know, these changes won't be implemented until August 3rd, but we wanted to give everyone a heads up that our very popular Libby app, we will be reducing the maximum number of holds that library users can place in the app from 30 holds as it currently stands to 10 holds starting August 3rd.
Now, what does that mean? So when you talk about a hold, and for anybody that doesn't use Libby, and you're a reader, a library enthusiast, download Libby, because it's an absolutely amazing portal to libraries and all different types of reading and listening material. So what does that mean? I can't go in there and put 30 books on hold anymore, or what's it going to do, and what's it mean?
So we actually allow our patrons to place holds on all sorts of library materials. So that includes our physical books, DVDs, anything in our libraries can really be placed a hold. But on Libby, what it means to place a hold is, say a book's not available for you right at that moment, you can actually place a hold and be added into a wait list for that book, so that we'll be notified when the book is available to borrow. And we have decided that due to some of these wait lists getting very, very long, like people waiting months upon months to get access to one book, we will be changing that number to 10 holds per person.
Okay. Now, let me, I can tell you a personal story, because I just opened Libby now and had a look at it. I didn't remember this, but on February the 4th of this year, I put a hold on, because I was looking for the Don't Tell the Newfoundlanders by Greg Malone, and that was February 4th, and it says, wait time available soon. You are first in line. So this is what you want to cut down on, I guess.
Yeah, and there's so many stories of that happening, Darren. We actually were able to pull up some stats, and since we've been having access to the Libby app since around 2015, and the demand for items in the app has grown by 245%, and this is what's kind of resulted in these longer wait times. It's definitely impacting how people use the app, but also impacting our budget because we're with so much demand for certain titles, we've been forced to try to purchase more books to help out with those wait lists.
Yeah, and help me understand this. So it's a digital form of the book, but it actually has to exist somewhere for it to be available. It's not just because there's a digital version, 300 people can't read the same or have access to the same book at one time.
That's a great question, Darren. So, yeah, ebooks and e-audiobooks, which are the main things in the Libby app, we technically pay what's called an ebook license for those items. So, basically, as opposed to a book that sits in the library, a physical book, once we buy that book, we have access to that book as long as we want to keep it. So, say we bought the latest Carly Fortune book, it's $38 when we buy it. We have that book forever. When it comes to an e-book or an e-audiobook, we actually pay a license to the company. So we might be paying, say, if we're paying $38 for that Carly Fortune book, we might be paying $57 for this e-book or e-audiobook. And then, not only that, we might not have that book forever. So the stat that I just gave you, that's for a 2-year term. So we don't even get to keep the book forever. We only have it for a short period of time. So, yeah, it's a difficult thing for people to wrap their head around, especially in the world of streaming. But when it comes to e-libraries, and this is not just true with Newfoundland and Labrador public libraries, this is true with public libraries throughout Canada, throughout North America, throughout the world, we have to pay licenses in order to get access to these materials, and we have to pay for individual copies generally.
Right, so that is a cost to your budget, and you have to maintain if people are looking for the book. And of course, we've come a long way since I guess Seinfeld didn't return Tropic of Capricorn by Henry Miller, and there's no Lieutenant Joe Bookman to go out and search for the book, but you'll get cut off online if you are abusing. So just tell people as well, I've got a book out. Let's just say I do. I don't right now. I'm waiting on that one. But if I got a book out, how long am I allowed to have it? And what happens if I go past that time?
Well, Libby's actually got some great fail-safes in there to help people who may have issues returning a book on time. We all do it from time to time. Generally, a loan in the Libby app is generally about 14 days, or can be 21. It really depends on how popular the item is and how long the wait list is. But the great thing about it is if you have finished the book, but you didn't click the return button, once that return date hits, Libby will actually automatically return that ebook or e-audiobook for you. So there's no dangers of holding on to a book for so long. That being said, we love telling people that they actually have a feature in the app to return a book early. So we love letting people know about that. So once you're finished with a book, if you know there's a long wait list, why don't you return that book early? The Libby app actually does like a cute little animation for you if you do that. So if you're someone who has like a reward drive, someone who loved getting like a shiny star sticker on an assignment when they did well, Libby app rewards people for doing that.
That's excellent. And what if you want to keep it longer? What happens then?
So if you want to keep a book longer, it really depends if somebody is waiting in line. So say you have a book that no one else is waiting for, you can actually in the app apply to extend your loan. And this is true for physical materials as well, books, DVDs, stuff in the physical library. As long as nobody else is waiting for an item, you can always renew it.
Okay, and it's incredible access without having to pay. And I know, like, there's all kinds of different apps out there where you can pay for your book, whether it's the Kindle version, I suppose, that type of e-reader book, or the audio book version. You can sign up monthly on all of these and keep paying. But Libby gives you free access to just about everything out there, both in the e-reader style and in the audiobook and other things. And you mentioned DVDs. What else can you get through Libby just by getting a library card, signing up in Libby, and having full access on all your home devices for these great materials?
Well, for the Libby app, it's really only ebooks and e-audiobooks. Within the last year, we did include e-magazines, so and those are actually available with access all the time. You don't have to apply for a wait list. And these are ebooks, e-audiobooks, and magazines for all ages. So we have stuff for adults, but also lots of stuff for kids and for teens. So that's really it when it comes to the digital library, specifically the Libby app. But with the libraries in general, we still have lots of physical books. We get access to stuff like movies and TV shows through our DVD collections, board games. It's always worth, I always tell people, because I can only speak for the St. John's libraries, if you're ever curious about what type of collections are at your local library, the best thing to do is to go physically into the library.
Absolutely. And I was at the 50th anniversary of the library in CBS not that long ago. And one of the things I told the story that I dated myself pretty good. I told people that we used to go, a few of our friends used to go to different libraries and sign out LPs. And we would listen to the LPs and then exchange them and take them back to the library. So there's all kinds of things you can get at your library, and it's great. It's a great resource. And of course, in these times where every dollar matters, that app is free. It gives you a direct line right into a library resource centers, I call them now, because they're not book depositories as they once were back in the olden days, of course. So, and I'm assuming you're expecting a great summer for the libraries around St. John's in the area. You're all set to go?
All set to go. We just are beginning. I would say in the next week is our summer reading clubs are really going into full swing. So when we try to encourage kids to read as much as they can over the summer with help from the TD Summer Reading Club. I will say for anybody in St. John's, our AC Hunter Public Library is doing an amazing adult summer reading club as well. So if you want to get in on the fun, we definitely encourage people to check that out. We definitely slow down when it comes to programs and events at the libraries, and that's just because so many people go on vacation. It's hard to get people to come into the library for an event, but it's always worth taking a look because there is definitely stuff that's going on, especially for families at the libraries this summer.
Yeah, and especially for people with younger children and so forth. There's all kinds of activities and things that they can be involved at your local library. Check them out. They got all kinds of things on the go. Emma, thank you very much for giving everybody the heads up, and maybe I'll get access to that book sooner than I expect now. It's only been since February, so it may be good for a lot of people out there. They're checking their app now to say, yeah, I've been waiting for one for a long time. Maybe I'll get in now soon.
That's what we're hoping will happen, Darren, that people will take this news and look at those hold lists and be like, oh, yeah, I have been waiting a while for that. And, maybe I don't need to be waiting for that book anymore, because we all forget about things we place on hold. I'm guilty for it. So maybe this will be a reminder for people that, hey, let's move along so someone else in the line who really wants this book can get access.
All right. Get your version at Tropic of Capricorn back before Bookman gets you or the Libby app cuts you off. We're going to go to break now. Thanks, Emma. Have a great summer at the public libraries.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Line 2, where we have St. John's City Councillor Tom Davis, who I believe is sitting in the last day of his 30-day suspension. Good morning, Tom. How you doing?
Good morning, Darren. I'm recovering from yesterday. My business was very busy. Yesterday we were in 18 different communities at the same time, providing fun, including yours. And just want to say thank you to all my staff and all the residents and the different people that support that side of my world.
Excellent. It's great that a local business is making a good go and getting good response from all over the region.
Thank you, sir. I want to touch on a theme that I know a lot of people are thinking about, and you had the mayor, Lab City, on with the wildfires, and unfortunately, the impacts of climate change on our province are real. We see it up in Labrador with sea ice changes. We see it with the water temperature and its impact on the aquaculture, as well as the Gulf cod, and of course lobster moving north, which is benefiting us. So the world is changing. A study said last year that 96% of the world's oceans had above average heat levels. And of course, 2024 was the warmest summer on record, and 23 and 25 were close. to be in the warm. So they were the second and third, basically, and they're predicting that 2026 is on track to be around the 23, 25 level. But, of course, we're still experiencing it, and we have an El Nino that's in the Pacific that has unintended impacts. So, for us, there's kind of two parts as I see it. There's the what can we do about it, and that involves trying to reduce our impact, our collective impact, as well as our individual impact, and that's challenging, especially in our culture. We have a fairly large lifestyles compared to, on average, like people in poorer parts of the country. But then the flip side of it is, I find that when I'm faced with something that's really challenging, it's kind of two options. You put your head in the sand, and that's unsettling, and I think in the long run that's not a good strategy. Or, you can try and adapt and try and do what you can. And so on the adaptation side, the wildfire smoke is actually pretty problematic. Most people don't really realize it because they kind of just look at it and they think, well, it's just like any other kind of smoke. But the majority of wildfire smoke actually is very small particulate, and unfortunately, small particulate doesn't get blocked by our nose and our throat. So, it gets out into our bloodstream. It can have impact, especially if you have comorbidities, which a lot of Newfoundlanders do. So, investing in some sort of air filtration that you can have in your bedroom when you're sleeping to give yourself a little break, and as well, those N95 masks, which a lot of us got pretty used to wearing during COVID. You may even have some kicking around. They can really help too. So there's that. I mean, it's one of these things where you're trying to find some healthy balance where you can not be going around worried to death, but also be trying to keep your quality of life and your life in general going as long as you can.
We have to be prepared for all kinds of different things these days, and wildfire smoke, smoke in general. We had a veterinarian on yesterday that reminded people that you got to be concerned about your air quality for your pets as well, and do the best you can to shield them from any unwanted smoke in the house. So any kind of filtration system or just keeping the windows and doors shut sometimes, I suppose, may help.
Yeah, and stuff like sump pumps and checking to make sure you've got a sump pump and that it's working, and maybe even having a backup one, because unfortunately there's two sides to the equation. There's the heat, which a lot of the world that we pay attention to is experiencing extreme heat. And, I do think there's an opportunity there for us from a tourism point of view. I really think we should turn around our advertising now, because you can just imagine if you're in Europe or Central Canada or down the States or anywhere, Asia, Middle East, if you saw a billboard or an ad that popped up in your social media feed that said, come to a place where there's all the beautiful things that exist in Newfoundland. Oh, and by the way, it's probably 20 degrees cooler than the place that you live in.
Who'd ever thought we'd say that out loud and want people to know it?
Well, you know what? I think you have to play to your strengths, right? And we're so close to it that we don't realize the opportunity. I can, again, there's a lot of people who have a lot of money and fly all around the world, and perhaps we could be one of their destinations. But I just call on people, just try not to try the Ostrich approach, head in the sand, and just do what you can do, extra insulation and all those things. Mini splits for some AC if you can afford it. Obviously that has impacts that you save money on. So Darren, listen, I just want to plant those seeds and keep watering them every once in a while. But I do want to flip over, like you said, you started off the conversation with today is the last day, and tomorrow I'm really looking forward to get back to work, getting access to my emails, which I haven't had for a month. And I'm going to be in tomorrow morning and get all that back up and running. And there's a few big issues that have been burning while I've been off, and I'm really looking forward to get back at them. And like the Groves Road duplex proposal, which is going to come up most likely at the next public meeting. You want to call on residents, now's the time. Reach out, connect with me. I've had a few people talk to me about speeding and other challenges that I want to get back at. And of course, we did collective agreement bargaining. I'm not sure of the outcome of that. I'm not sure if it's resolved yet. So, the impacts of that on the budget. And we had our audited statements came out last week. And I'm looking forward to be able to talk directly. So, just just asking people to be a little patient with me, but I imagine there's going to be a whole bunch of emails there waiting for me, but there may not be. Maybe they all got dealt with. And so, but anyway, I'm looking forward to next week, and I appreciate all the support that myself and my family received. And again, call on the residents to as the late Debbie Hanlon said, just be kind. And I'm thinking specifically about my other colleagues who I know were really taking it pretty hard. So let's put it behind us. Let's move on. Let's get back to work. And thank you, Darren, for taking my call today. And we'll talk to you next week.
Tom, just before you go, is there anything, you're going to go back to serving the residents like you did in the past, and that's what you're elected to do. That's your duty to do, and it's, there's rules for which you agreed to do that. But within the workplace itself, is there anything you're going to do differently this week? Is there anything that you have to do, you feel, to address anything that has happened that's involved you that would maybe even create a smoother path forward for you and your colleagues and staff and so forth?
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Well, it's a tough question because, 56 years old, you've developed certain ways of interacting with people, and I always thought that they were pretty good. However, I do know that it's a large organization. I've been self-employed basically my whole life. It is challenging operating that environment. So, the big thing for me is trying to insert a pause before speaking. That's the first thing that I have to work on. I mean, I always kind of looked at around the table, we're all trying to find the best solution. It was never personal for me, but I understand that that's not really sometimes the way people think. So one thing, definitely a pause. There's definitely going to be a pause. There's also going to be an acknowledgement that whenever I'm speaking, I'm making sure it's very clear that it's not about an individual. It would be about a challenge that I've identified. I'm working on it. It is really difficult. So the main thing for me is I have to do a little better, and I want to do better. I mean, communication is so key. If you want a good outcome for the residents and for the city in general and the future of the province, every word does matter. So I'm going to try and be more deliberate, but without losing the passion and the research and the hard work that goes into it. So I'm going to try and find a delicate balance. There's obviously going to be a transition time where I've got to prove to a couple of people that I've offended that I've learned a lesson and that I want to do better. But the flip side of that is it's trying to recognize there was a lot of harm done during this process too, and to a number of people. Like post complaint, really, that's the part that I don't know how we all navigate. But I'm there to do the work, and I'm hoping there's going to be an internal process that helps. Specifically, the council will come back together to be able to do the important work that we need to do.
Fair enough. Tom, just in hindsight now, and it's always 2020, but do you regret speaking publicly about the incidents since this happened? Do you wish you to just let it be and not talk publicly about it?
Darren, it's a tough question, right? Because you got to go through the timeline to really see the process. So, so there was the day of where I was where the conflict was let out to the public, and then I I felt like I had to speak to that, and at that time I didn't really say very much other than I accepted the report and I was sorry, but then I was misquoted, and also the public kind of jumped to conclusions, and there were some allegations there might have been like sexual, or there might have been harassment, that there was maybe violence in the workplace. There was a lot of allegations that there was something between me and one of the other counselors, and then I was misquoted by saying I had a temper. So all those things were kind of spinning around out there, and so I clarified that, and then it's been a slow drip of other, like, some of the complainants came out and kind of clarified some things and made some kind of unintended maybe, but they kind of floated some ideas, so then it got a lot of legs. So No, I don't regret speaking about it. I regret the way it's played out and specifically how it's impacted my colleagues, and my family. So it's really difficult to know because I feel like some of these discussions, maybe they needed to be had. I think the process was very destructive. I think I was calling for restorative justice from the very beginning, where basically everybody gets in a room and has to listen to each other, 2 ears listening, and that really still hasn't happened. And I feel like I still believe that needs to happen because there's two sides to every story, and you can't. I mean, you can hit someone over the head constantly and say, well, this is the truth, but in an important issue where you're talking about fundamental, person's reputation or their intentions, that's not going to work very well. So you really have to. We all need to realize that with these big issues, you have to do the hard work, and that's listening to each other, both sides, and respectfully, both sides. And I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen going forward. No, I don't regret. I don't regret trying to clarify because the things that were floating around in the public that people were just assuming were way worse than the reality. And I do think that maybe the way the city communicated or maybe the way everything, again, terribly destructive process, and it's impacting councils all around the province. I do think the province has to get involved to figure out a less destructive process for trying to maintain, kind of keep people in check.
Okay, Tom. So, I guess the test of the process will be going forward. We're going to hear more about that, I'm sure, going into the future, how that's going to play out. And you're back on the job full tilt tomorrow, July the 3rd, and I'm sure I'm probably going to hear from you next week when we're back on the air and open line, and we'll see what the week brings. So, all the best. Take care.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Okay, we're going to line one where we have Tom. Tom, good morning. Welcome to Open Line. Welcome back to Open Line.
Yes, Brian, thanks.
Darren.
First of all, I get to Darren, sorry.
No, it's no worries.
Sorry.
It's normally Brian.
Sorry, the last time we spoke, before we get to my point, was I called you about the fire transit system out in your area, and I want to call and say, before we get to my point, thank you very much for that. I understand you've budgeted something. So on behalf of the people who called me and all the people who need that service, thank you. Thank your council for that. I'm sure, as you can appreciate, it's a much-needed service. And again, behalf.
Yeah, we put some money in the budget last fall, and I know the staff will be working on it now this summer into the fall to see how the program works out, but we're hoping to have something finalized over the next couple of months for sure.
Yeah, perfect. So we appreciate that. And again, another quick point, I'm a 12-year-old who has one of those electric scooters, and I get nervous every time he goes out, even though I've tried to train him as best I can, but and I really appreciate your caller there, that the action he took in it, which was great. But, a lot of drivers don't respect these kids, and they'll honk their horns at them and they'll blow and things like this at them, even when they're what I call following the rules of the road going down. So we need to respect these kids,
I never understood what the honking of the horn, how people felt that would help. It probably, puts a fright into the person on the bike or the e-scooter or whatever it is, and doesn't help. The best thing you can do is drive defensively. If you see somebody and it concerns you, just be mindful of them and, and try to, avoid them as much as possible. But at the same time, there should be some more regulations regarding these things, Tom.
There should be. I totally agree with you. The main reason I'm calling this morning, get your name right again, Darren, was, in 1990, a attack while serving with the military in Europe, and I got a disability. And in 1995, at the urging of former Premier Grimes, I went to the hub. Now, the hub, as you know, and I'm sure overwhelmingly the people who are listening to us today know the hub is the Physically Disabled Service Center. Our mandate is to provide employment for persons with disabilities. All my staff have disabilities, and for the last 31 years I've been at the hub I've been advocating for people with disabilities. I've been employing persons with disabilities and gone actually to the airports and trained airport staff on how to deal with passengers with disabilities and all those things. So when 2 days ago I received an email from workers' compensation or workplace health and safety, whatever they're called these days, that, hi, Mr. Badcock, you need to send all your staff on a training course for dealing with disabilities in the workplace. So I looked at it and I said to myself, it's got to be a joke. Somebody is just joking with me. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized this actually came from workers' compensation.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
I'm going to pop down to line 4, and on line 4 I have Joshua. Joshua, good morning. Welcome to Open Line.
Good morning. How are you today?
Great. What's on your mind?
I'm calling today as I think that's hits close to home, and I'm hoping that I share some information and have a chat with you that hopefully brings some info to others as well. Both myself and my partner are also people with disabilities. I really appreciate the last caller there. Unfortunately, he got dropped. I was eager to hear what he had to say as well. But my topic today is specifically around education and being a person with disabilities and approaching the education system. Both myself and my partner had gone through a program through years ago when we started the program. It was called Immigration Skills, Population, and Growth. And how they advertised this program was people with disabilities, people who are having difficulty finding work, newcomers, things like that were eligible for this program under certain criteria. So, of course, being a young man myself who experiences a physical disability and most recently started to experience very bad vertigo, I started to think, how can I better my life? How can I earn a bit more money for my 5 children, my family? And I got to thinking I should go to school, given that this sounds like a great opportunity. When I had started, my income wasn't great, I'll be fair. I had hoped and dreamed that by completing the course and getting a business admin diploma, that it would set me off to hopefully make, a couple more dollars than $20 an hour just to get by and help the family thrive a little. However, coming to the end of this course and kind of inserting there, my partner began her program about halfway through that I started mine. We both have the same impacts of the program, which at the end of the program, we were required to file taxes. Being somebody who did a business admin course, I was familiar with the language, but still not overly familiar with the processes of filing, as that required a little bit further education. So, of course, I knew the importance, I knew the structure, I knew the forms, I knew the layouts, but I didn't really understand what the information meant for me until it was filed. Before I went to school, I received the Canadian Disability Benefit, or at least was signed up to receive as it was starting. That is up to $600 per month for people with disabilities. I think it's $400 from the province, $200 from the federal government that people could be eligible for. All that you'd have to qualify for that is having a valid disability tax credit and then meeting a certain income threshold. So before the program, I was eligible for that service. I was eligible for NLPDP, which is Newfoundland Labrador Drug Prescription Program. I was in housing and eligible for housing, Canadian Housing Benefit, housing services, and things like that. Furthermore, I've just got some notes here I'm gonna help myself with, because it is quite a lot. So the disability benefits I mentioned, the CHB, NLPDP, my partner being affected by this, her CCB has been affected as it reduced almost $600 as a result of filing our taxes. So to kind of summarize.
So Joshua, your income has had a direct effect on your eligibility for the funding that you were previously receiving to help you. Has probably left you in a worse or no better financial position you were originally.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm pointing at, is that before the program, I was comfortable with understanding how much I could make, although I was uncomfortably living. I was familiar and confident with what I was able to take care of and manage financially. I just wanted to do more for my family and be able to successfully pay bills and not have that worry. However, now graduating the program just on the basis of receiving the tuition allowance and the financial aid, which they issued biweekly, it set me at over $40,000 income. The reality of that is that I actually only received approximately 22 to 26,000 of that through my banking, which also doesn't look at medical expenses or, things that are eligible to reduce from, say, tax time. So come tax time, my taxes were filed, as well as my partner's just recently, and I lost all services. That being said, I'm comfortable with sharing that I'm currently unemployed or at least off work, trying to find certain hobbles to do time to time as I'm working through a new diagnosis of vertigo. So at the point that I'm at, I require this additional support for being a person with disabilities, but I'm not allowed to access it. I have to wait until next year when I file my taxes for my line 1,500 and 15,000 to reflect a lesser amount.
You got to wait for another tax year to get your benefits back, to restore you to where you were before you decided to take advantage of a program that could help you with education and better yourself financially in the world, working, that you are now in a worse financial situation for the next 6, 7, 8 months or 9 months, whatever it is, to get the next tax season, so that you can prove you didn't make enough money in order to qualify.
You're absolutely right, and it has a ripple effect because
they've untied one hand and then they've tied the other.
Exactly. Well, it actually ripples further because I've had to reduce how much work I have to do, and I'm required to do because we have children, which we cannot afford the child care. We are looking at how do we budget going to work full time and also paying for child care. And given my disability, I work a little bit more than part-time hours, and almost 100% of my income would be paid towards child care. So it kind of made sense for us that I should accommodate and take care of my own children rather than just working to have someone else do that. But at the same time, we've reached out to everyone, and I'm talking, we've called the MHA for our area, and it's been months and just a quiet line. They have no answers, no help. We've gone through Newfoundland Housing Corporation, and they are a disaster to deal with. I've been hung up on. I've been told that I've had applications canceled without explanation. So we filed a human rights application. Human Rights had assessed it and stated its taxation laws, which we have to prove to Human Rights how it violates our disabilities, which we are required to hire a tax lawyer. Given we have a lessened income and no benefits, we're now having to pay for
hire a tax lawyer.
So
that's the answer. Boy.
We went to Citizens Representatives, and Citizens Rep hit a wall, said no help. We've gone to the Department of Education Minister, which they have stated there's no help. It's the way the CRA has told them.
So this
to
is a
file
federal issue. Have you been to your MP? What area are you in, Joshua?
I'm in Torres Cove. We called the MP, and they will not get back to us. I've left messages. We've been dealing with this for almost a year. As we prepared for this month, this is the month where it's catastrophic. This is where all services change because the taxes now readjust. To give you the example, my partner did receive her disability amounts for the last year, but it was incorrectly issued. She filed her taxes last year incorrectly due to having to put the tuition as income. We didn't think that was necessary as it's a tuition benefit. They changed it and made it an income this year, which now she owes back all of the disability-related benefits.
God.
And so no one is willing to listen to us, and no one is willing to help us.
This is deeply entrenched somewhere in a bureaucratic system at CRA that nobody can dig to the bottom of, and I'm sure that it's a frustrating thing for anybody, but holy cow. So through your efforts to better yourself and your family's living and abilities to be able to look after your family, you've had the legs cut out from under you because of a system you made a few dollars too much for a while, and now you're worse off now than you were a year ago.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the money that we made wasn't actually even earned income. It was assistance provided by the government to better our education. So, and the way we became eligible is I had to go to my physician and gather documentation and provide it to the educational program and be approved. So they were fully aware of our disabilities and how these things would impact us.
So this program,
being a business,
program should have said to you, go get a student loan, boy. and then you won't be cut off your funding. You'll have a student loan. You pay on that at some point when you get out of school. That's what they should have done rather than put you in this situation, because if that's the way the program is set up, there's a serious problem with that. Look, Joshua, keep looking into this. I'm 3 minutes past the break here now for the 11 o'clock news, but that's an astounding story of somebody trying to better a situation, doing the work, going above and beyond, trying to make sure that they can support their family, and having one program cut the other program out from underneath of them that is required to get them through. It's not like they're giving you money for work, like you said. They're giving you money to take the education you need to better your situation, and they're using education money to cut your disability funding, which is absolutely absurd. All right. Joshua, I'm going to leave it there now. Yeah, you go ahead.
If I could say thanks, just wanted to mention as well, if this is allowed, the last caller mentioned they have or associated with a hub. I'm a young man with a disability who's willing to work as hard as I can. If there's any chance that caller calls back, if you could connect us, that would be beautiful.
Not a problem. We'll connect you with Tom. Tom's a regular on the show, and most everybody in St. John's and around knows Tom. And we'll get Dave to hook you guys up, and Tom's going to be back on the show shortly. Okay, Joshua, thank you for letting people know this.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
I'm going to go back to line 1 where I have Tom. And Tom, if you remember where we lost you, you can start up there.
Again, on your last point, I have about 15 ebooks online, so I understand the issues of those things.
Did you just hear Joshua that we just had on?
I did. I was listening to him.
That's shocking.
I did see the whole. And Dave called me, and I told him to give him my number, and to call back to me after I finished talking with you. And yes, it is a horrible situation. And see, the problem is everything is tied to the federal system. Everything is tied to your federal income tax return, which is, in his case, as best I can understand what he was saying, it's a year in arrears basically. So you got to wait till you file your next return for the province to react and for everybody else to react. But I'm sure there's something I can do for him. So when I call and get some more of his details, I'm sure I'll be able to at least get him steered in the right direction. Supposing he's got to send an amended return or do something like that. But I'm sure we can help him, because
that's great.
A man, he obviously wants to work. His partner wants to work. He has 5 children, so. I'll certainly see if I can help him. But what I was talking about before was that workers' compensation wants me and my staff, or my staff and I, to be correct, to take a training course on dealing with disabilities in the workplace. Now, it's not only laughable, it's absolutely crazy. I'm not doing it. My staff is not doing it.
Because, and I just want to be clear so everybody understands, of course, your staff are people with disabilities.
Of course they are. And the most of them have known each other for 40 years, believe it or not.
It's not like you're an employer that's being obtuse and trying to get out from doing something they should do in a normal situation. Well, yours is a little bit different.
So I went back to them with a message, and somebody will probably have to bail me out for my comments. But my goodness gracious almighty, is anybody thinking about this when they send out these things to people? Well, it's like asking the CNIB, you want to take a course on how to deal with blind people. It's absolutely crazy. When I want a bit of advice, if I'm dealing, I have one of my employees who's deaf. So when I have an issue, I call the Deaf Association or the Hard of Hearing Association. And when people have disability issues in their workplace, they call me. And they say, Tom, we have this person. How do you think we should deal with it? So that's what I do. So I'd be very interested to see and to hear who at Workers' Compensation is going to be teaching my staff how to deal with disabilities in the workplace.
That's a class I'd love to see. I hope they put it online. Because
so do I.
It's just too foolish. I know. And somebody writes this stuff down somewhere, and then everybody sends it out, and there's no filter on it anymore. And of course, we saw this come out from NLHS last week or the week before about seeing children's medical records, and you wonder sometimes, before these things are sent out, does anybody look to see where they're going, what they're saying, what they mean, or anything like that? It is a confounding situation, I got to say.
like I said, I have a 12-year-old, and when this thing came out, I was actually in my doctor's office at that time. And I said to her, is this true? And she just shook her head and looked at me, and I said, crazy, crazy. On a final note, because I've kept you long enough, our housing projects at the hub are rapidly being done. The guys are in there now putting in the sprinkler system, so we're hoping to be soon finished within the next few months. We're accepting applications for people to move in there. They're beautiful bed-sitting rooms, beautiful, beautiful brand new facility. It will be fantastic. So it's great. Individuals, we'll be giving priority to people with disabilities, of course. But the rent limits are monitored by Newfoundland Labrador Housing, so it's very, very reasonable. So anybody who is looking for a place to live and would like to move into one of these bed-sitting rooms, just pop into the hub, grab one of the applications, and hopefully within the next few months we'll have 6 more people with a nice place to live.
That's fantastic, Tom. Thank you very much for bringing us up to date on the housing project for the hub, and of course letting us know about this most interesting letter that you have received. And good luck with that training. Hope everybody passes the audition, as they say. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Next, we're going to go to line 4, where we have Robin. Robin, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hello, Robin. You're on the air.
Yes. I want to talk about Beaumont ML.
Yes, sir.
I don't understand the propaganda about Beaumont ML and the soldiers who died at Beaumont ML, how they died fighting for our freedom. Can someone explain that to me?
You'd have to be a little more specific, sir, in what it is you don't understand. You understand that they were involved in World War I. You understand that they were battling as the Battle of the Somme began.
Yes.
And you understand that most of them died in that conflict at Beaumont Hamel, and only 68 of 800 or so were around the next morning for the roll call. And the war continued, for a couple of more years before it was over, and many, 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 many thousands upon thousands of people died in the conflict. You understand all that. So just explain to me which part of it you don't understand.
The part about the propaganda that these men in World War I or Beaumont Hamel, that they died fighting for our freedom. It's constantly harped on at the memorial ceremonies. How did they die for our freedom? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, okay. So what would your contention be then? Why did they die in your view?
Well, they certainly did not die for our freedom. Germany had no intention whatever of attacking Newfoundland. Germany had no desire to fight the British Empire in 1914. And Germany, as a matter of fact, was a far more democratic state than England was in 1914. Germany provided great social services in 1914 to its people. It was a far more democratic state than England or the British Empire. So why did these men go over there to die if it wasn't for our freedoms?
Yes, so of course the entire way of life that we know and that the people of England knew and the people of the free Western world knew was under threat from Germany. So one's under threat, all's under threat, I suppose. And being part of that British grouping, the Newfoundland Regiment, supported them, as would Canada, as would Australia, as would so on and so on. So when one's under attack, all's under attack. And if it doesn't concern you and you're not involved, then when it does concern you, who is coming to your aid?
Germany was no threat to Newfoundland. Germany was no threat to the British Empire in 1914. So why did these men go over there to fight? Fight for our freedom? Germany was not an aggressive, belligerent state towards the British Empire, or certainly not to Newfoundland. So I don't see why they went over to fight, except to fight. Our freedom was not under threat from Germany in 1914.
Well, one of the things that we do know is that the results that came from World War I certainly were a direct line to what happened in World War II and the aggression of Germany at that time. That's absolutely true. But to, I guess, to lessen the effort that, our people, our soldiers being involved in a supportive effort against Germany. Well, why did the war start in the beginning? I think we all got a sense of that. And then, of course, Germany was considered an aggressor and a threat to, the rest of Europe. And then, of course, England was involved from that standpoint that brought us into it. But did they die for our freedom? Is that a overwhelmingly generalistic view on it? One could say that a lot of people sign up for the military because it pays them money. Not that they're fighting for freedom. But my belief in all of that is that we stand for each other. And in World War I, we stood for those that were standing with us at the time, and that's why. Anyways, Robin, great thought. A lot of people will be thinking about this now for the rest of the day. Thanks for bringing it up.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
We are going to go to line 5 where we have Randy. Randy, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning?
Not too bad, sir. How are you doing? You're calling from Happy Valley Goose Bay?
Yes, I am. I'm calling in about the person that called in about the Newfoundlanders, the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, and the soldiers that died at Beaumont Hamel, and he mentioned about it being propaganda. And I come from. My dad was in World War II, and I have a son that's been in the RCR here in Canada and been fighting over in Afghanistan. And I read up on this, and I grew up and heard about this all my life. I mean, the Germans were a powerful fighting force. They wanted to rule the world. Okay, the Commonwealth and other countries were under attack. Newfoundland was part of the country of England or the United Kingdom or the Commonwealth, and it stood in the way of the Germans attacking North America. Now, they wanted to rule Canada too, and it was proven in World War II when the Battle of Atlantic, when the submarines, German submarines attacked and sunk many of the merchant navy ships, including other vessels and ferries in Newfoundland waters. So I would ask the question, where would we be today if Allied soldiers did not help us out in World War I and World War II? Because we could have been in a completely different situation and ruled by the Germans if we didn't protect our countries, didn't go out there and fight for our freedom. So I'm just wondering, how he would look at it in another way. Everything is documented, and most of it is true. So I sort of questioned that, what he's saying there.
Yeah, and of course, what you're saying is absolutely was very close in World War II, believe it or not.
Yes.
And we saw the devastation in England. They had subs right off of Newfoundland, right off of I believe Bell Island, and so there was that intent. Now, a lot of the World War II was fueled by I believe the Treaty of Versailles that the German people felt was overreaching and went too far, but that was used for its own propaganda in different ways by the Reich that took over, and of course that was catastrophic on so many fronts. It's hard to imagine. But World War I, yes, we were part of the empire, and we supported each other, and that's the way these things work, And I would go so far as to say that, if somebody were to attack the United States, then regardless of how the current president treats its allies, the allies would be there to support the U.S. So that's the way we do business, and that's the right way to do business.
I look at it this way too. Newfoundland, is a gateway really, to North America. We have all these ships that come back and forth, and we have oil being shipped in by vessels and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it can very well happen again. So the way I see it is, we had to fight for our freedom that we got today, or where would we be,
No, absolutely, and it's unfortunate that these things happen. And Gary Brown, is absolutely right. It's war is something to be avoided at all costs, but not all costs. It's to be avoided, but not at all costs. Not at the loss of your freedom. Not at the loss of your general way of life. And of course, and it shouldn't be. And you shouldn't ignore your friends when they're in need the most.
Would you know, my son was over in Afghanistan twice and Bosnia twice, and he was there with Jamie Murphy when Jamie Murphy passed, and I mean, it's been very emotional on our family, and I've been studying up on all this over the years. And when I hear something like that, I'm wondering exactly what does the man mean. But I figured I had to answer the question because, I mean, we are the gateway to Canada or the gateway to North America, and it could easily happen again.
Absolutely, and of course we were very strategic during the Battle of the Atlantic and and of course our Merchant Marine and so many more of our civilians and soldiers died during all of that.
Yeah, my dad told me stories how, I mean, he was on one boat that actually went down, but he told me stories how he was sailing across to England in the Merchant Navy, and he'd be standing up on the deck, and and they would see torpedoes going along by their boat, missing them and sinking other ships. When you think about what all these people are going through, we don't see it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you take the people that return, like my dad and my son, all this they've seen is in their minds, and we cannot comprehend what they are going through. You have to be there to see it.
Yeah.
And I think we should support and we should honor Beaumont Hamel and other events more than what we should.
Yeah.
What we're doing right now. And I think we should have been, our military should have been keeping that built more instead of bringing it down over the years. And we should have been building up on it,
Yeah.
And now we're in a situation where we really got to spend a lot of money to build it up. And I think we should have built on that over the years.
Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere. And, of course, I just want to do a shout-out to our legions around the province and, of course, across the country, going out to schools, making sure the young people hear the stories and, from people that have either seen what your father has and your son has, and keeping it front of mind at least a few times during the year, so that lest we forget, of course, and then we're back into a situation again where we don't want to be.
I'm of the opinion too, because we have relatives, my wife and I, in Ontario and places like that. A lot of people in different provinces do not know much about the history of Newfoundland, in World War I and World War II, and very few of them know about Beaumont Hamel. So, I don't think we've really been educated enough over the years on it, right?
Yeah. Well, they did, and hats off to national news 2 years ago when the unknown soldier was repatriated. They gave it full coverage. I know there was coverage from Beaumont Hamel yesterday on CBC television, and of course Brian Callahan, Open Line show host, is there now. He did an interview this morning. He'll be doing more, of course. So the more we can do, the better. But Randy, I'm past the break. I thank you for your call and your thoughts, and all the best to your son, in his endeavors, and thank him for his service from all of us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
We're going to go to line 2. We have George with the CNIB. He is the chair. Welcome to Open Line, George.
Thank you, Darren. It's been a while since I spoke to you, and first of all, I want to thank you about the initiative you've taken out there in CBS with the transportation for people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, no, well, listen, everything forward is a great thing, is a great step forward, and people with disabilities need help, and they want to be part of the real world, And,
absolutely.
And the last two callers there, Tom and I think it was
Joshua.
Joshua, I couldn't ask for a better segue for what I have to say. It's sometimes like you get put in when you try to better yourself or help somebody, you get put in a room with no door out. You keep scratching at the walls, and after a while, I think the system wants you to sit down, give up, and that's not the way life is, and everybody wants to live a meaningful life. But I wanted to call this morning about deaf blindness, and it's a unique disability, and is not simply a combination of being deaf and blind. It's his own distinct experience, and it requires specialized trained intervention supports. It's like communication techniques and that are tailored to the individual depending on their level of hearing and hearing loss and blindness. A lot of times when somebody says, that they're blind, or that person is blind, or a person is deaf, they fail to understand that there's different levels of blindness. Like, I have some sight left, but I am blind. I can't get across a crosswalk without a beeper or something happening on the other side. It's really weird, and when you hear about these bureaucratic problems that you're having, that our last two callers are having, nothing surprises me anymore. And it makes me sad that we're not moving ahead in the community, with regard to understanding disabilities and the drawbacks that they cause. We have to have, and I'll go back to deaf blindness because that's what I'm calling about.
Yeah. If you could just explain it a little better so that everyone understands exactly what you're talking about and the uniqueness of this the situation people face.
Well, one of the things that comes forward once you get blind, to become blind and deaf. Just stop and think about how you're going to order your groceries or how you're going to communicate. And there's a whole slew of things, like your social connection in life, mobility, just communicating with the outside world and getting information of things that are happening in the world, like listening to Darren Bent this morning, all of those things are a lifeline, not a luxury.
We take it all for granted. There's no doubt about it. But you end up with a personal isolation as well, don't you?
It is, and that leads further into a mental blockage, and many times when like we have people now in here in the province that are caught up in a crisis, due to the absence of intervention services here in the province. In other provinces, the provincial government, they fund intervention services to help people, have their normal lives. But there are others, particularly in rural and isolated communities, who are struggling, silently and are not. Well, they're not yet visible to the system, and we all know that over the years, that the closer you are to the city, the more prone you are getting some help or some direction. But the further you're removed and you go out to the more rural communities, the less, if it weren't for the people around them, their family and friends, and oftentimes we know that there's not family and friends that are there to have the time to help these people, and I know when I start going blind myself, my God, I didn't know what I was going to do after having a very active life, and and a very big love of life. I was almost 3 years before I even wanted to leave the house. Once I had my driver's license gone, and the whole bit. People don't understand the social isolation and mental health decline, and that the reduced personal safety. Because again, I mentioned about crosswalks. There's so many things. The ability to access health care, education and employment. And community life, to go into a card game or anything, any of those things. People who are deaf, blind in Newfoundland, they deserve the same levels of support as those in other provinces. We're not unique. We're a smaller population, but we are part of Canada, and I think everybody in this province should be treated fairly.
Yeah, and of course,
our two previous callers certainly highlighted that.
And of course, services are less the further you are away from the center, and that exacerbates the issue faced by people that are feeling this disconnect now because of their physical disability of deafness and blindness. The isolation is greater, is it not? Because I'm sure in some cases it may lead to a sense of hopelessness, and of course, without hope, what do you got?
Well, exactly. You either live. What's it they say? You live in hope or die in despair. And that's the reality of this situation. And unfortunately, we get people who are making decisions, that affect people's lives, and who have no feeling or no knowledge of any of these problems that exist for the rest of for us, for the disabled.
Yeah. So George, you're the chair of CNIB.
Yeah.
You have a line to government agencies and all of that sort of thing. Have you been reaching out to see about some sort of coordinated support for people that are in this situation?
Oh yes, yeah.
Are you getting good response or no response? Or
I'm not going to comment on that. No,
okay.
I'm not. By not commenting, I'm not.
Well, you don't want to foul where you eat, I suppose, too, right?
No, that's right. That's the big thing about it. We're every so often we're up looking for getting put in the right direction or trying to cut off some snafu, that's occurred, and we it's. I don't know. As a volunteer, I know that I don't have time for much else other than CNIB, and I got to say I enjoy it. One of my motivating factors was that I wanted to get people out, get those weekends out on the street, let people know that you're part of society, and that don't give up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And extend that so much further for people who have deaf blindness, because that to me must be a very bewildering situation to be in.
Yes. Well, George, thank you for your time this morning and highlighting this issue that a number of people around the province face, and hopefully, the CNIB can make some inroads on this, because they are an organization that certainly has, a line into the government agencies and so forth that can probably help at some point. George, you have a great day.
Thank you, Darren, and maybe we'll bump into each other at Costco again someday.
Absolutely. All right, George, you take care.
All the best to you. All the best to you, my friend.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Go to line 3 now with Sean. Sean, how can we help you this morning?
Hey, Darren. Good to hear your voice again.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I'm over in Bay Roberts.
Yep.
I was parked at the electric charging station here. And when I went to put the charging cord back into its slot, I noticed there was a key with a round ring being held by the round ring sitting up on top of the charging station.
Oh.
My guess is someone just laid it there thinking someone will come and get it. But maybe someone just dropped it right near the charging station and don't even realize where it is. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's a key. And where is the charging station in Bay Roberts? And I guess if you've lost it there, you'd know where it is.
It's at the arena. It's at the arena right next to the A&W and all that there. And it's pretty easy to find it. There's a ledge up on top of the charging station. You just reach up and there it is. There's no name on it, so there's no worry about someone taking it and breaking it into someone's house. But it looks like a house key to me. The second thing, Darren, if I got 1 minute, it just hit me. A couple of days ago, you were so good at talking about the Tele 10. Now, what most people don't realize is that young man who came in was 25 years old from Ontario. Actually, he's living out in BC right now, going to UNB Law, and he's also on their track team. He's done a lot of wonderful things in Canada. He gets all that from one of his wonderful grandfathers, who was Mr. Frank Murphy, was known as Fa Murphy, from Corner Brook and then St. John's. And he was on the Boyle Trophy winning team for St. Bon's many times, and other things like baseball and all kinds of stuff. And these are this is his grandson.
Ah, that's excellent. So Andrew Davies, our Tele 10 champion and record holder, from Ontario, living in BC, is grounded, rooted in the west coast of Newfoundland, Labrador, where his grandfather. Yeah, excellent.
That is the truth. And his mother was Louise, his grandmother was Louise, and Louise Murphy was Louise Ryan, who was my mother's sister. And both unfortunately deceased. But I just thought it was interesting, and he's a fabulous athlete, doing wonderful things in this country and outside the country. And his mother is living in Sarnia, and his father, and they're so proud. And I just wanted to bring that up today.
That's excellent. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's wonderful to know that Andrew Davies just didn't fly in, win the whole thing, break the record, and go on from the mainland. He is Newfoundland blood. Ah, excellent.
Absolutely, and he was thrilled to be able to come and run in it this year. I mean, you never know who's going to win because they come from different places across the states, too. We had some in from the U.S. this year. But to see him literally fly through that field and win that by not just it was a couple of minutes, which is a long time in running. But it's just so wonderful, and I'm thankful that I had the chance to tell you about this. And, of course, your listeners.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Sean. And, of course, and the first reason you called, of course, there's a key at the electric charging station at the arena in Bay Roberts that somebody has lost. Looks like a house key on a round ring. It's sitting on top of the charger, and you can drop by and get that. Sean, thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
And thank you for what you do, Darren.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You've had the last word on Open Line today. Our show was as full as an egg. Thank you for everyone that called in to make it interesting. We talk about Free for All Fridays. That's tomorrow. Every day is free for all around here, I think. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.